skeptics of this deal, people who are open to supporting it but skeptical. Dennis Ross and the other former officials who signed that letter, some people on Capitol Hill. If you're a skeptic, based on what's come out about what's in play, what are you worried about now? What are you looking at? What are the one or two things to say, this has to come through or I can't support this?
Probably the biggest thing for most skeptics is the question of inspections. What kind of delays you'd have to have, what sort of access to what kind of sites, a little bit of concern about too much sanctions relief too soon that takes the pressure off Iran. So I think that's the principal concern of most skeptics. My own concern is actually less that. I think while you will have compliance issues, I'm actually more concerned about what happens if Iran complies. 10 years from now, they can do whatever they want with centrifuges, 15 years with uranium, and because of that, we're going to face a daily problem with many of its neighbors. So managing this is now going to become a permanent challenge to American foreign policy.
So to that point, if the U.S. feels that the deal actually isn't quite there, could it face pressure anyway from its negotiating partners to go ahead and sign on to it, and then what happens?
Sure. If things break down, I think the most important thing is at this point, whether you like the deal or not, you don't want the breakdown to be perceived because the United States has moved the goalposts. It's one thing if the Iranian government suddenly says you can't have the inspections that reasonable people would say are essential. So failure is not the problem. It's really, on whose fault is it widely perceived to be? And if it's us, then it seems to me sanctions unravel. And that's the worst of all outcomes. No deal, no sanctions.
Does Iran have a strong hand at this point in the endgame of the negotiations?
Sure.
What's the source of the strength for them?
Well, you've got your China and Russia that are fairly sympathetic. You've got a United States government that clearly doesn't want things to fail, do not want to have to face military force. So each side is in some ways limited by what it doesn't want. What keeps the Iranians in the game is obviously their desire and political need, particularly President Rouhani, for sanctions relief because of the economic bonus that would accrue to the Iranian government.
Right.